So in our last video, we looked at how water is able to be transported from the soil into the root hair cells. Then it found itself in the root hair cell. Then from that side, the water goes up and it reaches the ribs where the water is needed for the process of photosynthesis. In this video, we'll be going on looking at transport systems in living organisms, and today particularly we'll be looking at transport system in animals or in humans. Now, as you may know that in animals, diffusion is too slow. So for the efficient exchange of materials, the transport system will help to transport materials from one part of the body to another. So this system, it consists of the blood system and the lymphatic system. So like I said, our topic for today will be transport in humans. All right, so this is why we'll talk about the blood systems. Okay, now to begin with, we'll start to look at what is the composition of blood. So we'll look at the composition. We'll look at the composition of blood. Right. So blood is very important in animals or in human beings as for the survival. And other than that, you might want to know that blood has got a lot of functions just other than transport. Now, blood consists of the following. Okay, so blood consists of the following. Number one, the blood consists of the red blood cells. So these are sometimes known as erythrocytes, all right, as the scientific names, right? So basically, the shape of the red blood cells, let me use a different color. So usually the shape of a red blood cell, okay, something like this, and when you view it to the other side, it looks like this. So the shape of a blood cell is so it has got a concave shape. That's one thing that you should know, and it does not have a nucleus. Now, if you recall on our introductions to cells, we did mention that a nucleus controls all cell activities, but in the red blood cells do not have a nucleus. So for the following reason, the first reason is that, okay, for just one reason maybe. So the biggest reason is that the red blood cells, okay, consist of the hemoglobin. Okay. Okay, so the red blood cells has a hemoglobin. Now, so all this space where maybe the nucleus is supposed to be is occupied by hemoglobin. All right, so because a red blood cell will need to trap or maybe bind to as much as oxygen as possible. So the hemoglobin is the one that is able to get attached, or the oxygen is the one that gets attached to the hemoglobin. And also, other than the oxygen, also the carbon dioxide also is also attached to the hemoglobin, and it is being transported from the lungs until to the body parts where the oxygen is needed, as well as also carbon dioxide is able to be taken away from the tissue cells until it is taken to the lungs, and it is breathed out as a byproduct. Now, the shape of a red blood cells, okay, will enable it to increase its surface area so that it allows efficient diffusion of gases across its surface. That's one thing that you should know. Then again, this shape, okay, this shape, like you can see, it has got the narrow squeeze whereby the capillaries will also okay, the capillaries also gets to be closer enough to the red blood cells, or maybe, sorry, I'll say that again. So what I mean is that the red blood cell can change shape, all right? Can change shape. It can squeeze itself because the blood capillaries, okay, they are very small. So hence these red blood cells can change shape. It is able to squeeze itself and pass through the capillaries in those narrow tubes of the capillaries. So that is one of its function. Okay, so let me just indicate that so that you don't forget. Okay, change shape. So it is able to change shape, right? So then another thing that you should know is that I've talked about the hemoglobin, all right? So I've said that the hemoglobin in the plasm is readily formed. Okay, so it forms the hexohemoglobin with oxygen. So when the hemoglobin okay is binded to the oxygen, okay, let me get something that is more clear. So when the hemoglobin is bind to the oxygen, okay, it produces or maybe it forms what is called hemoglobin, right? So that is what is formed. So the hexohemoglobin is what is formed. Now, one thing that you should know about the red blood cell is that the red blood cells, they have, okay, they are produced okay, in bone marrow. So they are produced in the bone marrow. Okay, so they are produced in the bone marrow, and also the lifespan of these red blood cells is 120 days. Right, so the lifespan of the red blood cells is only 120 days. So meaning after that they are destroyed in the spleen, all right, the lymph nodes, bone marrow, and the liver. So when the red blood cells, okay, reaches this period, it is then destroyed. Okay, it is then destroyed in the what? It is destroyed in the spleen. All right, so the spleen is part of the lymphatic system. So it is destroyed in the spleen. It is also destroyed in the bone marrow. Also, the liver is able to destroy the red blood cell. Now, from the liver there, but what it is when the red blood cell is destroyed, all right, so its iron is not destroyed, because the iron, this is why they say you should eat foods that contains much of iron, because of the purpose of hemoglobin that consists of the iron element that is able to get, that allows for oxygen to react with it, like it's bind there. So the iron is taken back into the bone marrow for the production of another red blood cell. So this is about the red blood cells and its function. So hope you understand. So I've talked about its shape, it being a bioconcave shape, like this, the way you're seeing it. It does not have a nucleus, so as to allow much of the hemoglobin that is able to react with the oxygen as well as the carbon dioxide. Then one thing I've mentioned is that the red blood cell is able to change its shape, all right, so that it squeezes itself in the narrow capillaries there. And I've also talked about saying that when the hemoglobin and oxygen gets to react, they form what is called hexohemoglobin. Then as well as I've talked about that the red blood cells, it has a period of 120 days. That's how its lifespan. After that, it is being destroyed in the spleen as well as the bone marrow, the liver, also even the lymph nodes, they are able to destroy the red blood cell. So ladies and gentlemen, that's about the erythrocytes, or maybe red blood cells. Now let us look at another component of blood, and this time we'll go direct to the white blood cells.